Bernardino City Unified School District, Dr. Dale Marsden. Ladies and gentlemen, our moderators for today's forum are Jonathan Buffon, Jewel Patterson, and Joseph Williams.
Good afternoon. We are pleased to welcome you all to the San Bernardino Mayoral Forum 2018, the first forum of the year. With over 210,000 residents, San Bernardino is one of the largest cities in the Inland Empire with an annual budget of $160 million. Civic engagement is the lifeblood of a civil society. In order to have an effective democracy, we must have a participatory democracy, one that's educated, engaged, and empowered about the issues that impact our community. It's our responsibility to elect a servant leader that is committed to and capable of improving our collective quality of life. It's up to us to choose a leader with the best potential to make a profound difference in the future of San Bernardino. Today, we are pleased to welcome the leaders who seek to govern the city of San Bernardino in the coming years. You are the first to see them as a group and to hear their priorities, perspectives, and passions and issues that are very critical to the future of our city and our region. The city of San Bernardino's environment is rich with issues. It's our collective responsibility to seek out the individual that can best lead and navigate the city under the new charter, answer tough questions, and demonstrate resilience in the face of crisis.
Let's meet the candidates who seek to represent the city of San Bernardino as it continues to strive to come out from under the cloud of bankruptcy. Please hold your applause until all the candidates have been introduced. John Valdivia is the city councilman for the 3rd Ward. He was elected in November of 2011 and pursued undergraduate studies from Evangel University in Springfield, Missouri, and graduate studies from Fuller Seminary in Pasadena and Azusa Pacific University. Richard Ruiz, who is a tow truck driver for California Towing. He is a certified maintenance technician as well as a vocational computer terminal operator. Carmel Rowe is a real estate broker and small business owner in San Bernardino. She is a graduate of Cal State University of San Bernardino with a BS in marketing and a double minor in public administration and public relations. Daniel Malma is also a candidate for mayor. He is not present today due to illness. Mike Gallo is a board member for the San Bernardino City Unified School District Board of Education. He was elected in November of 2011 and has a Military Academy Bachelor of Science in Structural Engineering, then postgraduate at Air Force Institute of Technology for Orbital Mechanics, Trajectory Simulation, and Acquisition Management. Kerry Davis is the mayor of San Bernardino. He was elected in February of 2014 and has a bachelor's degree from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo and master's in business administration from Cal State University, San Bernardino. Ladies and gentlemen, the candidates.
Permit me to briefly describe the format we will be utilizing today. We will ask a range of questions that have been reviewed after being submitted by the public and members of the sponsoring committees. Each candidate will be given 1 minute to respond to each question. The follow-up questions will be posed at the discretion of the moderators. The candidates are appearing on the stage left to right in alphabetical order. However, we will begin the questions in reverse alphabetical order. Each candidate will have an opportunity to be the first to respond to a question. Each candidate will be invited to make 1 minute closing statement. And finally, the audience is asked to hold its applause and refrain from interrupting and verbally reacting to the answers given by the candidates. We want to get as much content in as possible today, and we want to hear from these candidates.
First question. As mayor, what is your vision for the city of San Bernardino? Mr. Valdivia will be the first.
There you are. Can you hear me? Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Councilman John Valdivia. I serve as 3rd Ward City Councilman for the City of San Bernardino. The 3rd Ward represents the lion's share of resources for our community. When you do an analysis of the top 25 sales tax producers in the City of San Bernardino, Ward 3 represents the lion's share of that sales tax capital for our city. I'm certainly a big believer in infrastructure improvements. I have a record and a distinction of leading my district and being responsive to folks in my district. I have a record of accomplishments bringing Golden Corral, instrumental in negotiations for JCPenney's, $21 million worth of tenant improvements, Inland Center Mall, Auto Center dealership, robust, thankful to our car dealerships in town. Bringing economic resurgence to our community is key. I believe that the biggest cure to poverty is job creation. We need to get our people, our San Bernardino residents, back to work, and I'll be a mayor that gets people back to work.
Time. Thank you.
Next up is Mr. Ruiz.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Richard Ruiz, and been a resident of San Bernardino for about 13 years. I was born in LA, and I grew up in San Gabriel Valley, and I migrated out here like a lot of people. When it's hot, it's hot. When it's cold, it's cold. That's our weather. I'm a tow truck driver, and I'm also a resident and a citizen, and I care. And I didn't prepare anything. I'm coming off the cuff right now with you. I'm on big film. And I speak to a lot of people in my tow truck every day, and I hear a lot of different stories. And I've never done this before; it's my first time. But it takes a big heart to want to sit here and do what we do. This isn't easy. But like the council member said here from the 3rd Ward, I'm in the 5th Ward, I believe. But it looks like the 3rd world here in San Bernardino. To me, it looks like disparity. Okay, we suffered a tragedy December 2nd, 2015. That shouldn't happen.
10 seconds.
And I just want to say, as a mayor, I want to get, if I'm elected, I'll be working for you as an employee and a citizen. And we're going to take care of that my way.
Thank you. Ms. Rowe.
Can you repeat the question?
As mayor, what is your vision for the city of San Bernardino?
My name is Carmel Rowe, 41-year resident of the city of San Bernardino. My vision for the city of San Bernardino is the same vision that you have. To walk out your door and to be safe, to see no trash, to see no homeless, and to see nice, beautiful things. I have a vision of this city, of the city of arts, the city of hope, the city of happiness, the city of light. This city, we have very poor development code, and we have a lack of housing. Now, this city can never get where it needs to get if we do not create home ownership. We are not doing that. We have not been doing that. So I would like to create home ownership. I do have a vision from Highland Avenue to Mill Street and Waterman to Mount Vernon. So I will be bringing that public, but my vision is to be the voice of the people instead of trampling the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a friendly reminder, we'll cut each response off at the 60-second mark.
Next person is Mr. Gallo.
Thanks, Jonathan. My vision for San Bernardino is to move us to a level of excellence that we haven't seen before. It's to align our leadership team around a strategic vision, strategic direction with priorities, and engaging our entire community in building opportunity for each and every one of us in San Bernardino. You know, as John mentioned, economic prosperity really is the core. Poverty is the main issue in San Bernardino, and we see all of these issues kind of plaguing our community primarily because of that. I've been engaged in in alleviating poverty for 3 decades now for our residents and seeing them effectively compete for our demand occupations within our demand industry sectors, so our own residents get to participate in economic prosperity right here in our own city.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well, the city of San Bernardino certainly has had a lot of challenges to overcome. And I believe that one of the major roles that the city government needs to play is to return the city to a safe environment. My goal is to reduce violence and crime by another 25%. We've reduced it by about 14% over the last 2 years. Also, the revitalization and turning downtown into a thriving marketplace where people want to come, where it's a public space, where people enjoy coming back to the downtown of San Bernardino. I think we need to also make it better than it was, even in 1977 when it was an all-American city. I think we need to turn the Carousel Mall into a repurposed location where we have retail, we have commercial, we have residential. We need to attract high-paying jobs, and we need to make sure that we make those jobs
10 seconds.
high-paying jobs, jobs that people will be able to raise their families on. And we need to rebuild City Hall's ability to provide the level of services that we need to be able to care for our roads, our streets, and our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Next question. Considering the recent shootings that have been taking place at high schools across the nation, what are your ideas on gun reform and how to keep our students safe in school? Let's go to Mr. Ruiz first.
Thank you for that question. Guns don't kill, people do. When you got an issue in your mind, it starts at home, you guys, in the dinner table with your children. Children are killing, adults are killing, they're using guns, and it could be knife violence, it could be shoe violence, it could be a wig violence, it's gun violence. It's not, it's mental violence. It's a mental issue. We need to get a mental institution. If I had my way, I'd turn the Carousel Mall into a mental institution for the homeless people that are walking around like zombies. We got people vagrants, loitering. The proprietors don't do anything about the sidewalks and the trash like Carmel spoke about. We need to do something about that. And to gun violence, well,
10 seconds.
I think that, the Second Amendment is in the Constitution, and you don't go messing with the Constitution. You take care of your children and the mental issues.
Time.
Period.
Ms. Brown?
Well, quite honestly, I feel like our children, especially here in San Bernardino, they slip through the cracks. I feel like if we spent more money on schooling and after-school programs and art and music for our children, I feel like they wouldn't have the thoughts in their mind, the aloneness, and that's kind of the problem. We have low income and we have high income, but it doesn't matter what income you are. When children are not tended to and they are not given love or not given affection, or parents are too busy to sit down at the dinner table because you have 2-income households, children a lot of times slip through the cracks. So we need to do a better job in our school systems, because our school systems are failing our children, period. So if at school people are paying more attention, if at home people are paying more attention, because our children, they're our future. There's 150 homeless kids at Juanita B. Jones Elementary School. Those kids are our future, and we need to take care of them.
Mr. Gallo?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Keep talking.
Test.
Thanks, John.
I think responsible gun legislation, and the key to that is enforcement. If we're not enforcing our current gun laws, it doesn't matter what we do. We're still going to have issues. And I think the fundamental issue, with guns, again, is violence, and people simply not able to understand we're here living together in this great United States, and to create opportunities for all of us together. As you know, I've been past president of the school board, and we've initiated a strategic plan 6 years ago, of which safety and school climate was a core tenet, and we have made incredible strides in our facilities, our facility security improvements, our entry control, our procedures at our schools that have made a big difference in that. Do we have a long way to go? Yes. Are we embarking on that? Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you. It's tragic that we continue to have to deal with these kind of events, but in the city of San Bernardino, although we don't have any control over what the state and federal legislature does, we do have the opportunity to take some steps in our own city. And one of those steps that we've taken is we've entered into an agreement with California Partnerships for Safe Communities. We went to Oakland to take a look at the program that they've implemented. California Partnerships for Safe Communities has successfully proven that the efforts that they've put forward can help to reduce homicides and violent crime here in the city. And so we entered into a contract with them to be able to bring that program and that system to the city of San Bernardino. We've also taken efforts to make sure that we strengthen our police department. Over the last 2 years, we've increased the police department budget by $17 million. That's allowed us to hire 35 additional police officers by the end of this fiscal year. So we continue working also with the school district, with the Cal State San Bernardino, and with San Bernardino Valley College. The chief is very concerned about this issue. Thank you very much.
Mr. Padilla.
Thank you. I want to certainly send my deepest sympathies and condolences to the families in Florida. This is tragedy upon tragedy, and we certainly need to get an answer here. At the end of the day, I'm so supportive of our faith-based communities, much like Pastor Joshua Beckley, churches here in our community that have a strong response to the family issues going on at home. Individuals in our community certainly need that faith-based underpinning in their home. I was so glad to be raised in a faith-based home where my mom cared religiously for her kids, and we were very ardent churchgoers as kids. And so I understand that really has an element in the safekeeping of children. And so I will do everything possible to advance those opportunities for our families.
Developers look at income and education levels in the city to determine how it will make investments in a particular area. As mayor, what is your plan for education and workforce development? Ms. Rowe?
Well, I have a plan that is actually a 10 to 40-year plan to rebuild the city. And I will be using Cal State graduates and San Bernardino Valley College graduates to rebuild our city. Because, quite honestly, when they're done with school, there's nowhere for them to live or to work here in this city. So how can we even employ those that we are bringing up through our education system? Rebuilding this city means rebuilding the infrastructure. It means rezoning the city. It means commercial buildings. It means home ownership. It means a plan. It needs architects, and all these things are all these individuals are coming out of our schools here in this city, and they can't stay. They go to Beaumont. They go to Hemet. So in order to get these children to work, we have got to rebuild our city, and not just pretend that we're rebuilding our city. We need to actually have a plan and implement the plan and use our citizens. Thank you.
Mr. Darrow?
Thank you, Joseph. I've been involved in workforce development for the past 30 years. Been on the county's workforce board, and I'm the only business representative on the governor's state workforce investment board. I've also created a company called Technical Employment Training Inc. that is moved families from dependency to prosperity along a continuum of stages for thousands of families in our city. And this, to me, is a priority. We've got to figure out how we can move people from dependency to taxpayership and provide that opportunity to link them to our demand occupations and demand industry sectors in this region, and educate them and train them with certifications, credentials, skills, and abilities so that they can effectively compete for those occupations that are here at home. We got a lot of jobs here. They're just not being filled by our people. They're not being filled by our people because they're not qualified for the certifications and credentials. That's the work I've been about 30 years. I think that's critical work that we need to do here, and we'll continue to do so.
Mr. Davis?
Thank you. Mr. Gallo is correct. We do have a skill gap in the city. Only about 25%.
Would you repeat the question, please?
Developers look at the income and education levels of the city to determine how and if they will make investments in a particular area. As mayor, what is your plan for education and workforce development?
Well, at the very outset, I completely understand the dilemmas of people not working. When I have constituents and residents, teenagers, asking the question, why was Sabita taken away? That's the issue. That's the heart of this question, folks. Why was Sabita taken away? Mayor Davis, he broke the tie on sending Sabita resources and outsourcing. I'd be very moved to get that Sabita resources. We need to lay claim to it. There's a lot of job opportunities for our local teenagers. Putting these kids back to work in the summer months is critical, and that's what I would do.
Mr. Davis, would you like to respond?
Thank you. It was unfortunate that Sabita was not able to continue to maintain, but it was costing the city. The city could not continue to afford funding Sabita. Additionally, Sabita was underperforming, and actually the citizens are better served by the workforce development that's going on by the county. It took those resources, and it was able to put those resources with the organization, the county workforce development, and get a more comprehensive array of services to those who need it. And even though Sabita had been in the city for a long time, the resources that the city was expending was taking away from other priorities. And although we know that workforce development is very important, we knew that there was also a better way to do that, and that was to allow those monies to be more effectively utilized with the county.
Mr. Ruiz?
Okay, again, I don't really have a plan, you guys, but my heart tells me that this is what we need to do. I don't want to bore you with a bunch of statistics either, but 55% white, 14% black, and then the rest, you can figure that out. What do you see mostly on the street? Black. The disenfranchised people need jobs. It's simple. We need to have a salesman for the mayor to be a mayor. You got to say, I got a bunch of empty plots over here. Bring your bulldozers, level it out, talk to you, sit down, I'll talk to you. What do you want to do? Let's get those big jobs over here that Trump's talking about. Let's get Comcast over here. Let's get Apple. Apple's in California. It's called Apple Incorporated. It used to be Apple Computers. Steve Jobs died. Tim Cook took over. I'll talk to him. If I'm the mayor, I want $1 billion. Give me $1 billion. I'll take $350 million. Let's put some jobs over here and put people to work and get them off government control.
Thank you. The next question. The city's capital improvement plan is facing an infrastructure backlog above and below ground of around $200 million. What's your plan to reduce the backlog? And please be specific. We'll start off with Mr. Gallo.
Well, I'll tell you, the investment climate in San Bernardino has got to be addressed. That's going to be done by reducing risk to developers and investors coming to this city. We've got to figure out how to align ourselves around a common agenda, a shared vision, and very prioritized strategic objectives so that we can communicate this to the investment community and reduce their risk on coming here. We really need to have a 7-0 council, an aligned council on direction for these various projects. Developers, take a look at this city of San Bernardino. They're one vote away from getting kicked out of Embrace. And they're not going to come here. They have simply said it's too high risk of a place for me to place my $500 million or whatever kind of project that they're planning to build here. So I think a comprehensive strategic approach to development here that's going to bring in the type of infrastructure investments that we need is great.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you. The CIP program, capital improvement program that you made mention of, first of all, needs the capacity in City Hall to be able to execute it. And in the past, the city has been hampered by a flawed document, and that was the charter. Until we changed the charter, we were at a disadvantage to be able to recruit good talent. Now that we have a new charter, we've changed essentially the constitution of the city, a charter that is much more streamlined and is helping City Hall to be able to recruit good talent. To be able to service those needs, we needed to get good talent. We have hired a highly respected city manager who has now just recently been able to hire a new public works director. That public works director comes with a great deal of experience and will now be able to put forward good plans, long-term plans, to help to improve the infrastructure of the city.
Thank you. Mr. Valdivia.
Thank you. This has everything to do with what residents and constituents in the district that I serve call me regularly. They're not calling me about charter reform, a charter document that's encased at City Hall. What they're calling me about are tree trimming issues, pothole repair, street lights, infrastructure. Why is my sewer rate sky high? Why has my water bill tripled in the last 2.5 years? They're asking perennial questions on the management. This is not a charter issue. This is an issue that for 2.5 years I have fought. Since January of 2016, trying to get capital improvement programs fleshed out faster and quicker. From 2012 to 2015, I have a record of accomplishment of getting streets repaved in the 3rd Ward, outpacing every other district. Thank you.
Mr. Ruiz.
What was the question, sir?
The question is, the city's capital improvement plan is facing an infrastructure backlog above and below ground of around $200 million. What's your plan to reduce the backlog? And please be specific.
Backlog. That's not the people or the residents' fault. That's leadership's fault. Like I said, revenue. We need jobs. That's the only thing that's going to lift us out of this crisis we're in. If I'm mayor, I'm going to declare emergency crisis. We're in a state of emergency in San Bernardino, sir. You guys, it's crucial. We're not getting anywhere. It's been 4 years. Mayor Davis has been the mayor, and unfortunately, he inherited the crisis, the 14 people that died. Unfortunately, like I began my opening, it's all about jobs. Period. That's it. We want people off government control. No more this WIC and free phones and the taxpayer. It's on the taxpayer's back here. We need jobs. That's it. That's as specific as I can get.
Thank you. Ms. Rob.
Well, first of all, in order to answer that question, I'd have to ask you, where are we getting all the money? We gave away all of our property taxes when we annexed the fire department, and 77% of our general fund is spent on the police department. So in order for that to even happen, we need new revenue. We need new industry. Where are we getting that? Quite honestly, everybody might like to hear it or not like to hear it, but the cannabis industry has been trying to come to the city of San Bernardino. These are $15 to $25 an hour jobs. This is sales tax. This is user utility tax. Folks, quite honestly, we might be back in bankruptcy. We have no property tax dollars. None. And we have no businesses. Our small businesses have been kicked out. They have been treated very badly. The police do not show up when you get broken into. How can you even do business? How can you begin to rebuild this city if you don't have a plan to fund the rebuilding of this city? I personally have a plan to rebuild the funding and the small businesses of this city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question. California has become the 6th state to allow licensed shops to sell marijuana to anyone with an ID showing they're 21 and older. As mayor, will you be an advocate for retroactive sentencing in lieu of the new California law? Mr. Davis.
Could you repeat the question? Retroactive sentencing?
As mayor, will you be an advocate for retroactive sentencing in lieu of the new California law?
I don't know that the city, again, has that ability to make the legislature in Sacramento do anything outside of what they want to do. But in the city of San Bernardino, we've recently, as you know, had to take up the issue again. We have an ordinance that the city council is now addressing, and the Measure O that was passed by the citizens has been invalidated. We're waiting for the final judgment. As far as the retroactive sentencing, I'm not quite sure how the city would be involved in that, other than from the judicial standpoint. And the city, as you know, is not, we don't have that judicial authority. That rests with the courts, and it rests with the states. And so I don't know that we really would have any ability to have any influence over that.
Thank you. Mr. Valdivia.
Thank you. This is the heart of two issues when it speaks to the judicial sentencing of youngsters and individuals. In fact, just last night, Councilman Barrios and I both attended a very new organization called Second Chances here in our city. The idea is reformative justice, and how do we address those issues plaguing our teenage students, youngsters in our community that really need additional resources and help. I'm going to be a compassionate mayor, understanding of the issues regarding these restorative justice measures. I was very moved last night to hear of some of those implementation points that this organization is having. I welcome further discussion on advancing those in our own community.
Thank you. Mr. Ruiz.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the cannabis question here. There's a lot of money to be made in that, you guys. Lots. If you noticed Colorado's record, it was proven that it in the billions, okay? Why that's being held up over here in the city of San Bernardino, I don't know. We can get an R&D here, put, research and development. We can put people to work, like Carmel said. I agree with Carmel wholeheartedly. We can get ourselves out of debt. We can put ourselves back on the map in a good way. Cannabis is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It's the new alcohol. It's just like alcohol. You can't be in the car driving it into DUI or on the street. You gotta do it in private or at the house or at a party. And that's it. And it's good for you. It's a seed. It's in the Bible. It's been around for tens of thousands of years. Dinosaurs have been eating it.
Time.
Think about it. T-Rex.
Thank you. Ms. Rowe?
Well, first of all, we have more important issues here in the city than this. You know, we have a dying city. We have people getting arrested for things that they don't actually do and crimes that they don't actually do that just don't have anything to do with marijuana. So quite honestly, we as a city should open up the records of these children or these second chances and actually see, because, you know, a lot of people take a deal when they go to court. They're offered a deal, and that's what the prosecutors actually get paid to do, is make deals. Nobody really fights, and there are a lot of people who get these small, just petty crimes, okay, that then it hinders them forever, and they can never be who they are. So any crime that is petty, you know, if you stole a loaf of bread, okay, I mean, seriously, should you be penalized forever? If you were in marijuana and you were trying to do it legal, should you be? No. We need to take a look at what happens within our judicial system.
Time. Thank you. Mr. Gallo.
Thank you. As president of the school board, I the one that instituted restorative justice practices in our San Bernardino City Unified School District to reduce the criminalization of our young student populations, because it sets them off on a course that is just ridiculous and puts them on a path. You know, we've heard the pipeline to prison, and certainly we don't want to do that. But our goal is to educate our kids. Our goal is to also hold them accountable. And there are a lot of intervention strategies that we've been instituting, let alone these restorative justice, youth courts, and other kinds of things that can help our students move forward successfully. And as we start looking at the marijuana issue, I really think dividing the ordinances into perhaps a medical marijuana consideration and recreational considerations, because I think they're two almost separate types of ordinances that we may want to think about, might be something in order. But it is the law. We need to enact responsible
Thank you.
legislation and do it.
So I just wanted to give the audience a reminder that all questions will come from the floor here. So my question is, customer service within the city organization is at an all-time low. As mayor, what is your plan to improve the city's responsiveness to its residents and its customers? Mr. Valdivia?
Well, I treat every constituent and resident that calls City Hall like a customer. And that's the default position that I take, is responsive city government. Unfortunately, that Mayor Davis has cut and eviscerated many jobs that provide customer service delivery to residents. Pothole repair, patching, crews, and including police response time. Let's talk about that, because I think Ms. Rowe brings up a very good point. Our police response time, while I certainly appreciate our law enforcement, we have made vast improvements and inroads. We need to talk about those police response times that last and linger 4 to 5 to 6 hours on a P1 through 4 call. And so those are critically important in this discussion. If I become the mayor, we're going to improve City Hall, and have return phone calls within 24 hours. We're going to turn that City Hall around to be a resource center for people.
Mr. Ruiz?
Yeah, you mentioned customer service. That's right up my wheelhouse, sir. That's all I know. My wife told me, Richard, you're a barn salesman. I said, why do you say that? She goes, you're always helping people. I pride myself as being an extrovert. I think we need somebody to sell San Bernardino. It's up for sale. We have too many empty plots laying around, and for potholes and everything that the council member is mentioning right now, that's how we're going to fix those. With revenue, money, we're broke. So, we need to look into selling the city. We need a good salesman. We need somebody with energy. It's going to be tough, and it's going to work with them. And we need to stop being stifled by restrictions and regulations. And I'm going to alleviate that if I'm the mayor. We're going to have work here. Everybody's going to go to work.
Ms. Rowe?
Can you repeat the question?
Customer service within the city organization is at an all-time low. As mayor, what is your plan to improve the city's responsiveness to its residents and its customers?
Well, my first plan would be to get everybody back in one building, so that we're not running all over the city, or maybe we think we know where we're going and then we're not. But quite honestly, if you go to Riverside, they have a very good model. They have a one-stop shop. You can actually go in, get a business license, they print it out. I would like to take the Riverside model. I would like to have the nice flat screen TVs, like them to text you when you're ready. I would like to have a cafe downstairs where we're all centrally located, so that people can actually get help. So there's somebody to tell them what to do, because try to navigate this city. Oh, it's very hard. I help people do it. I do it. But I've been in business in this city for 23 years, so I've learned how to do it. But for a person coming in, there's nobody to hold your hand. There's nobody to guide you. There's nobody to tell you how to get a business license. There's nobody to tell you where to go. There's nobody to tell you that you need this, this, and this, and maybe that you should have some insurance, and maybe that you need an accountant. We actually need a liaison from the City Hall to these small businesses and to developers. But see, we need to hold developers accountable too.
Mr. Gallo?
Thank you, Justin. You know, organizational excellence takes intent. And as we were instituting the same types of measures at San Bernardino City Unified when I joined the board 7 years ago, You focus on student achievement objectives, i.e. the mission of the organization. But if it's absent moving an organization to a level of excellence and high customer service, and then concurrently investing in the professional development of your people and hiring the best, you're not likely to actually achieve your mission. And so these are critical steps to actual implementation of our priorities and mission, is to see that we build an organization of excellence.
Mr. Davis?
Thank you. When I took over office in 2014, I inherited a city that was in bankruptcy. We were looking at a $45 million deficit. We had our audits that were incomplete. We had gone from 1,200 employees to 700 employees. So in order to be able to improve the quality of customer service, we had to stop the bleeding, and we've done that. We now have an over $30 million reserve. We're hiring good talent. The charter was crucial. It was the foundational flaw that was keeping the city from being able to recruit good talent. We now are recruiting good talent. We brought on board a city manager with a great reputation, highly respected, very talented, and knows what it takes to put in place good city governance. But she'll need some time to do that. She'll need the support of all of the council to make sure that that happens. And it takes the council understanding their role to be able to get that done. They need to understand that the city manager operates the administration and the council and the mayor set the policy.
Thank you, Tom. Next question. What do you see is the city's biggest economic development opportunity? Mr. Reeves?
Cannabis. Look, we got to partner with public, private, tribal, federal. We got to open up the city and relieve the city of the restrictions and regulations. Again, it's as simple as that. We look like a third world country over here in San Bernardino. You go to Rancho, and there's Victoria Gardens, and it looks beautiful and it's gorgeous, and nobody wants to come over here. Why? How long is it going to take for us to get people to work? Why can't we get in a plane and travel somewhere and call up China or somebody, or bring them over here, get a building here so they can start building cars right here in San Bernardino? It's 10 months of hot weather. Let's get somebody that knows, so we can put the disenfranchised, the minorities that are out there that are suffering. I want them off government control. That's it. Period.
Thank you. Ms. Brown.
Well, before we can do anything in this city, we need to start with the downtown. We need to start with Highland to Mill, Waterman to Mount Vernon. If we do nothing with downtown, we will get nowhere. The uptown and the midtown cannot sustain this city without a proper functioning downtown. Right now we have a ghost downtown that brings in no revenue, no sales tax, and no people. At 5 o'clock, before the street lights come on, you see people booking it out of town. That is not what our downtown is about. We need a nightlife, we need parades, we need entertainment, we need jazz, we need food, we need to be able to walk, we need street lights, and quite honestly, we might need an amphitheater in where the Carousel Mall is. Okay, what we need is something for the people to do. I have been in this city for 41 years of my life, and there is nothing for the children in this city to do. Quite honestly, there's not much for the grown-ups to do either. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Yara.
You know, in thinking about this, I think our biggest opportunity for economic development in this city is leadership alignment around a prioritized strategic direction and engaging our entire population with it in that shared vision. And here's what I mean. We have assets all over the city. Mentioned the downtown, mentioned the base, mentioned our north end and the properties that we have. And we're doing just eclectic, kind of individual project economic development. It's time that we become strategic about this. You know, we see logistics and transportation warehouses just popping up everywhere. How about having a strategic objective that we're going to actually use that to enable other businesses that are points of sale, that do generate a tax revenue base, that might require access to a global transportation infrastructure, and attract those types of businesses and be more strategic about the land development.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you. We actually have a number of economic development opportunities within the city. One of those is the revitalization and rebirth of the downtown. It will be a jewel once again for the city once we are able to complete the tasks that are ahead of us to be able to make that happen. Theater Square and the selling of that is the first step to that. That'll allow us to have the resources to be able to then demolish the Carousel Mall and start to repurpose it as a mixed-use facility. Also, the airport is a major economic driver. In 1994, we lost 10,000 jobs, over $1.9 billion economic value. Today, we have nearly 11,000 jobs in the surrounding area, and we also now have replaced that economic value. We just signed an agreement with UPS to handle 2 of their aircraft on a daily basis. It's actually our first scheduled airline at the airport. So there is interest in our city. The Vertimont area is another area, and the infill opportunities that we have within the downtown and the 5th Street corridor.
Thank you. Mr. Bobby.
Thank you. The indication from City Hall is that City Hall knows best. We certainly don't have all the answers, and I don't pretend here to sit and provide all those answers. One thing I can do is broker opportunities with great all-star teams. It's unfortunate that our recent development company has abandoned the city. AECOM and Franson have decided they're not interested in this redevelopment of downtown. That's a crying shame for our future downtown revitalization. 43 acres of Carousel Mall sits vacant. It's blighted property that needs to be addressed immediately. If I become the mayor, I'm going to make sure that we get the top development companies in the world and bring some all-star game here to San Bernardino. It's time that a mayor leads with distinct leadership, and I have the courage to do it.
Thank you.
Next question. What do you see as the city's biggest financial challenge, and how should it be addressed? Ms. Rowe.
The city's biggest financial challenge is the fact that we gave away all of our property taxes. How are we going to fund the city if we have no property taxes? I mean, we have got to get over that, and the only thing that we can do, I mean, we could sue and say, hey, we need our fire department back, okay? Or maybe we could allow a new industry like the cannabis industry so that we have some sales tax, so that we have 7.75% user utility tax on Edison. Think about that. I mean, if a person was paying a $67,000 a month Edison bill, that's $5,500 a month that would be going back to the city. We need sales tax. We desperately need revenue, or we will never be able to fund our roads and our lights. And on December 2nd, when that happened, that tragedy happened, we had an opportunity to turn this city around. And I gave it to the city. It was CDBGDR, and it would have taken care of infrastructure, lights, and rebuild the city, and it would have been a blank check, and we passed on it.
Mr. Gallo.
Well, that's a fairly long list of financial challenges and things. But I think that actually figuring out how we're going to move our 54.3% of our population that's on some sort of public assistance to some level of economic sufficiency. And I'll tell you, that would bring so much revenue to this city. It would not only eliminate our perpetual investment requirement, basically, in supportive services requirements, but it would also bring taxpayers here and convert our current workforce to taxpayers. And I think that is probably the biggest opportunity we have to curing our economic issues with San Bernardino. That, and I think attracting investment to this community through aligned leadership and a council that has set direction for some prioritized level of investment in the city.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you. We have a number of financial challenges that we need to face. One of those is the pension, and that's a significant problem for us. But we have taken some steps to improve that. One of the things that we did was to outsource our trash collection, which has saved the city substantially and actually has increased the general fund by about $5 million. Additionally, we annexed into the fire district, which has also helped to reduce the head count. And all those firemen also had jobs that they were able to go to, and so none of them lost their jobs. I do need to make reference, though, to AECOM. AECOM didn't leave the city. The city did not renew the agreement with AECOM. Also, we did not give up all of our property tax. We gave up a portion of our property tax. We gave up quite a bit of it, but we did not give up all of it. But we need to attract investment, and we need to attract investment both with businesses and with residents to help overcome the financial challenges that we have.
Sure. The reality, folks, is business corridor improvements like Highland, Baseline, Waterman, the major corridors, including 40th Street, need attention to detail and care. Public infrastructure improvements aren't being done. There's a log jam. There's, we tout that we have a new charter, and God bless our new city manager, sincerely. But at the end of the day, residents are crying out for those sidewalks to be repaired, and it's been 2.5 years that we have actually done a CIP improvement plan. It's unacceptable. So economic and infrastructure is critical. We need to have a strong mayor that will champion the cause and be the cheerleader for San Bernardino. Folks, this is San Bernardino. This is my hometown. And I'm not going to somehow sit here and not provide that leadership for my hometown. San Bernardino is in desperate need of leadership, and I can provide it.
Mr. Ruiz.
Yeah, he calls them corridors. I call them arteries, and they're severely bleeding. You can also call them Skid Row. You guys, again, I don't know. I'm the little guy up here, to be honest with you guys. I don't mean to speak non-PC, but I don't know any other way. I'm told Chuck, I remember. But I'm also human, and I'm also a citizen, and I also care so much. I wouldn't be up here wearing this suit I just bought the other day. I love you guys so much, man. I swear to God. You don't know, I had a lot of talking points, and I forgot them. They're all over there in that free binder, this big old thing that you used to read. Really? I agree with a lot of things they're saying up here, but like the mayor said, and man right there, I do not know their statistics. They're already in the game. All I know is that we need revenue. I learned that word, and I believe that that's the key word here. Let's bring some jobs over here, man, and that lifts us all out of this disparity, this crisis we're in.
Time.
If I'm mayor, I'm going to claim we're in a state of emergency.
Okay, next question. In the surrounding neighboring cities, the downtown area is vibrant. In San Bernardino, the Carousel Mall is boarded up, and the convention center has been closed for decades, and aggressive panhandling is rampant at businesses that remain open in the downtown area. As mayor, what's your plan for revitalizing downtown? Mr. Gallo?
Thank you, Joseph. I think it's broader than just the Central City or Carousel Mall expansion. I think it's really integration of a number of elements and assets throughout the downtown area. I see a civic center with green, walkable areas going from Seacombe Lake all the way up through the Carousel Mall. I see a theater district that actually has other niche marketplaces and food eating establishments, coffee shops, etc. That's going to drive the kind of downtown living opportunities and things that can't be just done in isolation. That's the real issue. It's not a project by project basis. This has to be strategic, and it's got to be widespread. And you need the data. You need to take a look at what the asset maps are in the city of San Bernardino, what's driving your economic indicators, and then understanding where your investments that can be targeted that's going to yield the most economic return on it. And this is just an important element.
Mr. Davis?
Well, thank you. There are a number of first steps that need to take place, and we have started those. To begin with, the Theater Square, which is owned by the city, which the city acquired through the RDA, that needs to be sold and monetized. Once that is sold, the resources from that will then be used to take and demolish the Carousel Mall, and then we'll be looking, and we're already looking for a very qualified developer to bring to the city a plan that will be able to revitalize the downtown into a mixed-use facility, which will consist of commercial, retail, and residential. We need to have enough foot traffic in the downtown to be able to sustain the retail businesses there. The city manager is working with the economic development director that was recently hired, a person that was with the county for many years. The economic development director will be working very closely with the city manager, putting forward an outreach to make sure that we get the right people involved to develop that.
Mr. Valdivia?
Well, this is our second economic development director under Mayor Davis's leadership. The first one, I guess, wasn't just good enough. And even though I disagree, I think Mr. Manis was an awesome individual, had inspiring leadership skills. At the end of the day, folks, we need to get downtown. I mean, we've been talking about this for 20 years. You're looking at a lot of status quo bodies up here. I'm that new vision for San Bernardino. I will get San Bernardino downtown revitalized. I have a record of accomplishment. My district understands that Councilman Valdivia, when I set my task to something, I get things done. I am a councilman that gets things done in my district. It's a proven, I can translate what I've done in my district to the greater good of this city, and I'm ready for the challenge.
Luis?
My wife told me to bring it down a notch, so I will. I love her. 21 years married, she's a cancer survivor, you guys. And we have an airport, country club, golf courses, name it, racetrack, fairgrounds. I want to stick a big for sale sign right there in the middle of downtown Metro. Everything else looks great above the 210 and everything, and it looks nice. But you come down below, and you're scared, like Miss Rose says. That's for nothing. We can't have that no more, you guys. Let's show some love, and let's put a for sale sign, and let's lift the regulations and the restrictions. I think that's where we're going wrong with this leadership that's present right now. We need a good salesman to operate things. And I'll get an economic team. I'll work with the auditors. We'll see in one, let's open up the books and see how much waste we're doing. I spoke with people that are driving around with city cars. How much do those cars cost? $20,000. Start selling some of them.
Ms. Brum?
Can you repeat the question, please?
In surrounding neighboring cities, the downtown areas are vibrant. In San Bernardino, the Carousel Mall is boarded up, the convention center has been closed for decades, and aggressive panhandling is rampant at businesses that remain open in the downtown area. As mayor, what is your plan for the revitalization of downtown?
It's a 1,000 square block area from Mount Vernon to Waterman, Highland to Mill. I'm going to change 5th Street to 5th Avenue, have shopping all along 5th Avenue. I don't really believe that we should be selling Theater Square. It is part of our downtown and part of our revitalization. If we set the bar high and say, hey, we need water features, we need architecture, then maybe we can attract some high developers instead of the bottom feeders because we pander to them or we pay them or we're like, hey, help us, help us. No. We are a strong city. We have the best location. We are not going to bow down to developers. We are going to have standards and set standards. And then we're going to end up with something like the Victoria Gardens because you need housing and we need walking traffic and we need to be able to come from uptown and midtown to downtown with bike and pedestrian paths. We have these back access streets that would be perfect to do this. And then we will have people walking, entertainment. We need a destination. Chapel, we have nothing here to offer except for the Orange Show. If you're not coming to the Orange Show, why are you coming here?
Thank you.
Homelessness question. The problem of homelessness is estimated to cost San Bernardino over $30 million in city costs and societal costs. This doesn't take into account the cost to our local businesses in terms of hard expenditures and lost revenues. As mayor, what is your plan for dealing with homelessness? Mr. Davis.
Thank you. Homelessness is an epidemic throughout the country, not just here in San Bernardino and California. But California has been especially impacted by it. We've taken a number of steps to reduce homelessness. In 2013, the homelessness count was 908 in the city of San Bernardino. It was approximately 2,400 countywide. By the year 2017, the homeless count then had dropped about 491 in the city of San Bernardino. We've dropped it over 40%. We were the largest reduction in the county of homelessness, and that's because we have taken active steps, and we'll continue taking those steps. The city manager will soon be bringing forward a contract to enter in with Step Up on Second. Step Up on Second has been contracted by the county to help it deal directly with the chronically homeless. And we are going to also engage them in a contract to help the city put forward some of the best practices of dealing with homelessness. One of those is housing first with wraparound services.
Thank you. Time. Mr. Valdivia.
Cleaning up our city streets is critical. Homeless have invaded our public right-of-way and roads and impeded progress for our business corridors. When I look at Baseline and Waterman and Highland and 40th Street, many residents in my listening tour for the past several months, I've been out walking and talking to residents throughout our city. Many have complained of the chronic abuse that they receive when entering Stater Brothers, when trying to shop at night. And so those are concerns that I hear. I'll be a tough as nails mayor trying to get this epidemic under control. And I think crime suppression and intervention are critical. We need to incorporate policing and make sure that we reopen our city jail to make sure that we can accommodate panhandling and nuisance criminal activities that plague our tax-paying residents.
Thank you. Mr. Reeves.
Yeah, I take issue with that word epidemic. We're talking about human beings. We're talking about our citizens, our brothers, our sisters out there, you guys. You could refer to them as a choice. That's their choice. I was down and out at one time. This is a quick story. But if you're in a 20-foot hole, we lowered down a 30-foot ladder. You need to come out of it. You need to come out of that hole. There's jobs all around. You can start a menial job. You don't need to be homeless. But there's the mental issue too. You guys mentioned the Carousel Mall over and over again. We could probably refurbish it and put some homeless people in there and help them get rehab them back into the society when we bring some revenues and jobs. They're human beings and they're people and they need love. First of all, nobody's mentioned love. You get out of that hole, and then what do? They get the 30-foot ladder and they make a firewood out of it and they stay in the hole. Why? Because they're government controlled. Because they have free phones and entitlements like that. I want it to work.
Time. You can have a response.
Thank you. The issue is fair balance. When residents have called and complained, and tax-paying residents are saying that they're being broken in or they have rental property, that homeless are invading their personal property, we as city government must take a response and take a strong active step in that. Taxpayers also have rights. It's not okay for homeless to defecate and urinate on public right-of-ways where children are walking to school on sidewalks and slip on that nonsense. We need to get it under control. Look at San Diego. They've had an outbreak of certain issues that affect public health. This is a crisis here, and we need to make sure that we have a cohesive action plan as a city council. I'm very grateful that many council members understand that we need to also address the faith-based community. Faith-based community, I'm so grateful for their active participation in stepping up for the homelessness.
Thank you. Ms. Brown.
First of all, I'd like to just say that we're all one paycheck away from being homeless. We need to show our fellow brothers and sisters some respect and some love. Without showing them respect and love, they will not trust us enough to seek out the help that we can provide. My plan would be to work with the Rotary Club and build tiny homes for these people with some services, because some people need services. And once you get them in a home and you get them used to living like a regular individual, then you can get these people in the job market and in the workforce. And then you can, in turn, hopefully get them one step further to where they can become homeowners. I mean, people do not have to stay at that poverty level if there's other people willing and ready to help. We have 46 churches in this city. They're willing to help. If we all work together, this is a community problem. This is a very bad problem on our community. If we, the people, work together to solve this problem, we would get through it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gallo.
Thank you. I've been engaged in this for about 3 years now with the former White House Executive Director on the Interagency Council on Homelessness as part of the last administration. And there are best practices across the country that are being implemented in San Bernardino County. This is a holistic issue. It's not one of a single project, a particular intervention and things. It's a whole solution. We need to target and focus on people who have indicated they're ready, willing, and able, and then provide them with housing first, as the mayor mentioned, and then other supportive services and interventions triaged into education and workforce development opportunities and ultimately placed into jobs. There are plenty of our homeless population that do want the help, and those are the ones that I think we need to prioritize. Families on the street, single moms, single women on the streets, and veterans have been our core primary focus.
Thank you.
I already answered.
Okay, next question. Prostitution is very problematic in our city. As mayor, how will you address prostitution and be specific? Mr. Valdivia.
Thank you. Criminal activity is at an all-time high here in our community. You look at the last 2 fiscal years in this city, homicides have certainly been at the headline of all of our newspapers. The forefront of many neighborhood council presidents have contacted me, many of which I enjoy their support and endorsement. So what are we going to do about prostitution? I think we need to make sure that we have collaborative efforts with our county behavioral health and Department of Health, and making sure that we have that partnership on human trafficking issues. These are critical positions here in our community that affect young individuals, and we need to certainly address that.
Thank you. Mr. Ruiz?
Again, the women that are walking the streets need our attention, and not the way they are asking for it. They're humans. Not to mention, they're women. They need to be revered. Do we need to put them on a higher pedestal? Raise the bar. These are ladies, these are women. They're walking around, selling their bodies. Somebody's in control of that. I agree with the council member. Right now, who's in control? Gangs. The crime is spiked. It's not going down. It's either staying at where it's at, and it's going up. We see it every day. Why aren't we enforcing that? Well, where's the police? There's not enough. The county's taking care of us, breastfeeding us. The fire department, the county's the city is not doing anything about nothing right now. I see it every day. I drive a tow truck. I told you I drive a tow truck. In Rancho, it looks beautiful. Then when I'm in this jurisdiction, I can't stand it. We need to do something about it.
Ms. Rowe?
Okay, first of all, we have what they call as the circuit. It goes from Nevada to San Bernardino to Arizona. We need to stop that. Our police know that because I got that information from them. We need to stop the circuit from coming in town. There's 3 hotels off 5th Street that need to be bulldozed down, like the Golden Star, okay? And as far as the women on the street, the San Bernardino ones, the prostitutes, the ones that are controlled by the pimps, why don't we teach them, if this is what they want to do, they make thousands of dollars a day, but the pimp takes it. If this is what they want to do, they should be able to do that. Maybe they use Backpage and they do it on the internet and not on the streets, and they hire $15 an hour security guards with a gun to go out and help them. I mean, these people have a way of life that it's going to be very hard to just say, hey, you go and work for $10 an hour. No, it's not. These women need love, and they need to be mentored, and they need to know that they can have self-respect before we could even take them out of that position. So at least if we help them build that and say, hey, we're not against you, then at least we can get somewhere. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Gallo?
Yes, thank you, Joseph. You know, we've seen across the country, and there are examples of this in major cities that have seen dramatic reductions in not only prostitution but other levels of crime by a community policing strategy, more actively engaged community policing strategy that geographically disperses your police forces among various neighborhoods and targeted specific areas. We have 74 schools in our city that's geographically dispersed throughout every ward in the city. Perhaps it might make sense to have some, substations, police stations, etc., where we base our police forces so that they get relationships with people in the neighborhood. They develop and form those relationships, which has shown that there's an element of trust built up. It's a community engagement strategy, and they see the police officers as a community resource, not as an enforcement entity.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
Thank you. Certainly it's a complex issue, but the police department is actively engaged in striving to try to abate the problem. Additionally, we have other services in the community. We have Option House, which has done a very good job. And there's a need to also be able to address it at the hospitals, because oftentimes the victims are victims of abuse. They end up in the hospital, but they need a pathway when they're in the hospital in that safe environment to be able then to find another pathway. And Option House is one of those that will help them to do that. As we help them to make a transition from that lifestyle, it's important that they have then the safety net underneath them to be able to continue that. It's a very difficult transition from that lifestyle to another, but Option House is doing a very good job in our community, and our PD is also actually engaged in abating it.
Thank you.
Next question. Our city management's diversity does not reflect the community that it serves, nor do most department heads live in San Bernardino. How do you plan on changing that to better reflect our community? Ms. Rowe?
Can you say it one more time?
Our city management's diversity does not reflect the community that it serves, nor do most department heads live in San Bernardino. How do you plan on changing that to better reflect our community?
Well, first of all, I think that a lot of our department heads are overpaid. Maybe we should get some, maybe we should pull up from what we already have, the actual real workers, because we have good city workers. It's the department heads that mess up the city, and they're very much overpaid. So if we bring up a worker and we increase, his income a little, maybe then we'll have some accountability. But right now we have no accountability, and pretty much they treat San Bernardino like it's the whore of the county. They bring in their people, we pay them, they do nothing, they pad their pensions, and then they go on. This needs to stop. We need real community people. We need our students from Valley and Cal State and our workers that have been there, that know 20, 30-year workers. Why aren't we taking one of them? And why don't they become the department head? I mean, I'm confused. They know the inner workings of the city. You get someone from Orange County and you come in here and you put them. I mean, how does that even help? If you got the guy from the low man on the totem pole who's been doing his job for 30 years, I bet you he could do that management job.
Thank you. Mr. Gallo.
Yes, thank you. We have a similar issue in the school district. And how do we get our teachers to live here, embed themselves in the communities, et cetera? Our superintendent has moved here and embedded himself right here in the middle of the community. But it's not prevalent that most of our employees actually work here. I think creating mentorship opportunities and internship opportunities and career pathway development opportunities for our students here in the city of San Bernardino, and then creating those job opportunities for them and give them a reason to stay here is a way we're going to, I think, affect the diversity of our workforce to be more representative of what our community is. So we have taken on an action, the San Bernardino City Unified School District, and actually hired a workforce development specialist to actually see our students linked to internship opportunities, not only within the city, but within our school district as well.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
Well, thank you. First of all, I think it starts at the top. And in the mayor's office, have 2 Hispanics and 1 African American and myself. And so it's a fairly diverse group. 2 women, 2 men. And as you know, the city of San Bernardino's Hispanic population is close to 60%. And so that does set the example, because we have done that in the mayor's office. We do need to do a better job throughout the city's departments, you're right, in And we can do a better job by establishing some plans to make sure that we are actively engaged in putting forward policies whereby we do encourage to try to make the diversity of City Hall reflect the constituency of San Bernardino.
Thank you. Mr. Valdivia.
Thank you. I think it's critically important that in every facet of our operation and organization at City Hall, remember that we are customer-based. The mentality at City Hall needs to change. We should be out there on the forefront of leading in organizational dynamic changes to our patterns and systems of hiring. It's unfortunate that I see many of our city management teams still not reflective of our local population. It's unacceptable when we have hiring choices that don't reflect our city demographics, including our police and fire departments and other departments within our city structure. It's incredibly important that we get back to diversity in City Hall.
Thank you. Mr. Ruiz?
Diversity. San Bernardino is diverse. I can't believe there's just all one race inside the departments. I don't understand the question. Well, you said that the diversity, how we're going to change that if I'm mayor, if I'm elected mayor?
How do you plan on changing the diversity in our city's management to reflect our community?
I agree with Ro. I don't see why we can't hire internally within. There's a lot of smart people who are looking to climb the ladder. Councilman wants to be mayor. So this outsourcing, we got good people right here in the city. All right? I'll hire you. You know what you're doing. It's easy. Who can't do that? What, you need a bachelor's degree, some kind of gold medal or something? No. You just need to know family. We're just like, be real. Just let's take care of each other.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question. Panhandling is a major concern for businesses and residents in San Bernardino. What is your plan to address panhandling? We'll start with Mike. Mr. Yala.
Yes, thank you. It's multifaceted again. Enforcement clearly is a big deal, but it takes each and every one of us to address this issue. And, there was an initiative that we initiated through the chamber, and it was actually passing out cards and giving something to hand an individual that is panhandling, resources that he or she may decide to enact. Now, there's a dynamic associated with panhandling. You feel like you're being accosted, you feel like you're kind of a little bit embarrassed and put on the spot, and so you feel like you should just reach in your pocket and give them some change and things. It really is not the advised methodology. It really isn't. But the
that we have a compassionate heart. We want to aid those that are struggling, but we're not really helping when we contribute to panhandlers. We really are the solution to that problem because there are services available for those who want. We continue to provide them the resources and we give them that dollar that Mr. Gower was talking about. We're really just enabling them to continue with whatever habit they have. So we need to stop providing that short-term help and help them to seek long-term help. Because long-term help is available. The most important thing they need is to be able to have housing, they need wraparound services, and that's what's going to help them. But if we continue to make it affordable for them to not be employed or not be able to take care of a home, then we're actually partly contributing to that problem.
Thank you. Mr. Gavin.
Business corridor ambassadors are the key to the rebuild of our city. If I become the mayor, I'll be enlisting the support of grassroots business corridor ambassadors that will walk our downtown streets and make sure that there is a safe environment for shoppers, residents, and families. We need to tackle this issue of panhandling. The issue is growing. It's not abating in any sense. At the end of the day, what we really need to do is toughen ordinances here in our municipal code, allow and get out of the way of our police department, and let them do their job so that we can enact local ordinances, tougher and stricter, that will somehow abate the problem and address it head on. 13 entryway points to the city of San Bernardino. Panhandling needs to stop. If I become the mayor, I'll make sure that happens.
Thank you. Mr. Ruiz.
Yeah, panhandling is a good one. Every day they come up to me, tap on my window, I roll it down, I say, how you doing, sir? How you doing, ma'am? May I help you? Oh, I'm looking for, you got $1, this, that, I can help them out. Sometimes I look at them and I say, why don't you get some mental help? You look sick, you look dirty, you don't look right. And I'm honest with them. But I don't tell them, hey, you're a bum, you're trash, get out of here. You just give them a little love and show them which way to go and help them out. You know, it's a choice, but for too long they've been under government control, and that's why they're brainwashed. We need to get them away from entitlements, freebies. And let's put some jobs over here. Revenue, guys. That's it, period.
Thank you. Ms. Ross.
First of all, before we could even address the panhandling issue, we'd have to address the homeless issue. So once we address the homeless issue, then we can get to the panhandling issue. But instead of giving people change, the city of Redlands puts out this book, and one of the ladies at the Women's Club gave it to me, and it's full of resources. So if you would just, if we hand that out, because we do have resources, we have churches. Quite honestly, if for the last at least 10 years, probably 99 years, if we had been properly spending our CDBG funds, we wouldn't have homelessness, we wouldn't have people panhandling, because we get anywhere from $3.5 to $7.5 million a year from the federal government to deal with this problem, and we have mismanaged it tremendously, like with the Access Center. That was major mismanagement. We had $600,000. We could build tiny homes. Each one cost about $15,000. We could get everybody off the street at that point. But we are not using the funds properly. What we are doing is we are paying the high people. We are paying $150,000, $250,000 salaries to the top people, and it is not actually getting to the bottom where it's supposed to be.
Next question. What do you see as the role of the mayor under the charter approved in 2016, especially when it comes to supervision and responsiveness of staff and city leadership? Mr. Davis.
Thank you. The charter clearly does establish a significantly different organizational structure for the city. Under the charter, the mayor, the city council act as the policy-making body of the city. The city manager is the administrator, serving similar to what you would see in a corporate environment where the board of directors establishes the policy. The president then is the one charged with administering that. The role of the council is to not break that system, and that's been a big problem in the city in the past. And it still requires us to learn that new dynamic and that paradigm. That's why we've entered into an agreement with Greg Devereaux from the county, former county administrative officer, to help the city understand that new paradigm shift. We are holding workshops and we're doing some strategic planning with him so that the council will understand their role and learn to be able to act appropriately in their role, and so that management will also act appropriately in their role. So he's helping both the council and the department heads learn their roles effectively, so that we'll be able to implement that charter.
Mr. Valdivia.
Thank you, Joseph. The mayor should be the champion and cheerleader of the community. The mayor should be the point person for vision, leadership, and the ability to turn the city around. Residents are looking for a mayor with dynamic skill set and leadership capabilities to turn this city around. I'm that individual. I have a proven track record of 5 years serving my district, of providing that leadership and bringing jobs, resources to our community. The biggest cure to poverty is a job, and I'll be a mayor that gets people back to work. We'll invigorate this community and turn this city upside down under my leadership.
Thank you. Mr. Ruiz.
Repeat the question, please.
What do you see as the role of the mayor under the charter approved in 2016, especially when it comes to the supervision and responsiveness of staff and city leadership?
Accountability. I'm going to open up the books and have everybody, they're going to be held accountable if I'm the elected mayor. transparency. I don't want people doing extracurricular activities for special interests in this city. We're going to open up the books. I'm going to hold everybody accountable. Because I'm hearing things that I don't like, that I've heard on the street about this city. And there's some people that are going to be held accountable. I know some stuff. And I don't like it. And if I'm mayor, we're going to clean house.
Thank you. Ms. Rowe?
When I'm the mayor of the city of San Bernardino, I plan to be the servant leader of the city of San Bernardino. I plan to listen to the people and be the voice of the people. Because right now, nobody listens to the people. The people are tossed to the side. We are not heard. All of our complaints go on deaf ears. We need eyes. We need a mayor with a vision. We need a mayor who is ready to put that vision on paper and to direct staff to do it. Because although the city manager might go down the chain, it is the mayor, he is the head. He is the visionary of the city, or should I say she is the visionary of the city. And if you have no vision for this city can never go anywhere. We hired an image consultant at 24 to 36 months ago at $300,000. What image has changed? I'm going to change that image. I'm going to put this city to be the best vision and the best image, because when San Bernardino is a light, the rest of the world will take notice, and then we can hold everybody accountable, starting from San Bernardino. We're paying county people. Come on, the county got us in this mess.
Thank you. Mr. Gallo?
Yes, thank you, Joseph. The role is really to lead this city in uniting the council around a shared vision, engaging our community actively in prioritizing a direction for our city. And I think the other role for the mayor is actually to become an advocate for this city in regional investment attraction. That's probably one of the biggest things the mayor can do, is once a direction is established for the city, City Council is squarely on point to implement. Attracting investment to this community to implement those strategic direction is really the role of the mayor.
Thank you.
Now we will have closing statements. Just want to remind each candidate that you will have 1 minute to have a closing remark. Let's start with Mr. Davis.
Thank you. When I entered office, I inherited a city that was in bankruptcy. Through the bankruptcy, we lost the vast majority of our top leadership and over 100 police officers. We needed to remove the fatal flaw that caused our dysfunctional government by changing the way City Hall is governed. We repealed and replaced our city charter, in other words, the city's constitution, and replaced it with a new governing document. We had to stabilize our fiscal budget and set up a fiscal financial reserve. These changes have allowed us to have more police officers and recruit new talent, top leadership, and management positions in the city. These changes are the building blocks for the rebuilding and retraining of City Hall to better serve our community. We went from a $45 million deficit to now a $30+ million surplus. We've hired talented city managers to lead City Hall. We've increased our budget for the police department by $17 million, and we've hired over 30 new police officers. We need to continue on this road.
Time's up. Thank you. Mr. Valdivia.
I want to thank Ecclesia Christian Fellowship and many other community organizations for hosting tonight's forum. Special shout out to my former city council colleague Ricky Van Johnson for his work on this important candidate forum. For the past 13 years, San Bernardino has been governed by country club mayors who have failed to address the needs of West Side residents. It's time for a new direction at City Hall, and I'm your choice. It's time for a new mayor who will fight for residents outside of the country club and for the working families like mine, a 6- and a 3-year-old and a beautiful wife who are sitting and joining me here. Throughout my 5 years of service, I've built a record as a hardworking councilman who delivers results, ability from city officials. I've worked closely with Westside Councilmember Richard to help make San Bernardino city government more open and accessible. I've consistently fought the concerns of our local neighborhoods, and I've stood firm in opposing excessive budget cuts to city services that our residents need. Unlike the incumbent mayor,
That's your
I
time.
listened to the community and opposed the elimination of our
That's
city
your
seat.
time. Thank you. Mr. Ruiz?
Thank you guys for attending this forum. I also would like to extend my thanks to Ecclesia Christian Fellowship. Thank you very much, y'all, for having us here. It was an honor to meet you people. And like I said, San Bernardino's for sale. You know, I'm just a tow truck driver. I'm a laborer, I'm not a taxpayer, but also a citizen, a resident, and I care. I got a big heart. I'm a salesman. I will do my best to figure out what's going wrong here, why we haven't had any investors come in, tour the city, look at our airport. We have transit, metro. We have country club, golf clubs. They can do whatever they want here. I'll call Disneyland. I'll call Apple Computer. I'll call everybody I can. I will fly. I will do this for free and remain a tow truck driver. Just so that we can get the prostitutes and the panhandlers and everybody else back to work.
Ms. Brown?
Well, we've had 5 years or longer, 4 years or longer, of Mayor Davis and Valdivia. I'd have to tell you that I would like to know, if everybody's sitting up here, how many people have been reading the agenda? How many people have been going to the city council meetings? How many people have been speaking up for the residents of this community? I'd have to say that there's only one person that does that, and that is Carmel Rowe, a better choice for San Bernardino. Thank you.
Mr. Gallo?
My goal is to build San Bernardino together. And we need to start looking at what excellence is, at what we can be as a city, to inspire and engage our residents in actually participating in the things that it's going to take to drive this city's future. You know, we can all focus on problems, but where does your head go when it's in problems? It's negative, it's corrective action, just interference, and your mind just stays negative. We got to truly believe that we can move this city to greatness. I have that belief, I have that skill, I have that knowledge. I've been building successful teams and implementing it in education, workforce development, and economic development for the last 38 years since I came here in 1980 as a young second lieutenant, former Norton Air Force Base, and built several businesses, charter schools, and community-based organizations. And I want to see that leadership apply in helping us move city of San Bernardino.
Thank you.
Let's give our candidates another round of applause. We also like to thank our moderators, Jonathan Buffone, Jewel Patterson, and Joe.
Well, everybody, that sums up the forum. I want to thank you all for tuning in with IECN, and if you have any comments or concerns, questions, feel free to comment on the comment section. And yeah, stay tuned for a full story, full recap by myself, Anthony Victoria, in a few. So yeah, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. One of the important races that's coming up on June 5th here in the city or the county of San Bernardino is the district attorney's race. You can go to the next slide. Next slide. At this time, I want to introduce one of our key leaders in this work, Mr. Inslee Howe, who is taking lead on this project. The district attorney or Meet Your DA campaign is a campaign that COPE is in partnership with ACLU in the state of California to bring light to an important race in our county. Mr. Inslee Howe.
Good evening. Just a short word about the district attorney. Most people don't know this. DAs are more than just prosecutors. DAs choose which charges to bring in criminal cases. DAs help shape criminal justice policies.